I'm setting up the recording now. So anything you say from now on will be recorded. So yes, I'll be distributing that to the registered participants that could not join us today. And thank you everyone for joining. As most of you know, my name is Angela Halverson and I'll be your presenter today. And the webinar is for applying for financing through Renewable Future Development. You can expect that this is going to last about an hour, including the question and answer period, but maybe a little less, just depends how many questions we get. I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone's phones, just because that way it will reduce any background noise. So if you want to unmute, you'll have the ability to unmute to ask questions, or feel free to go ahead and put your question in the chat box. So then again, like I said, I'll just take off any background noise that there might be, or dogs barking, or those kind of things. Also, if you have to leave during the presentation, that's not a problem. I will be sending out a short survey at the end for you to fill out, and I would appreciate if you could complete that so we can plan some future webinars. I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself and my position here at Rainy River Future Development. I call it RFDC for short. So if you hear me say RFDC, that's the short form of Rainy River Future Development Corporation. I'm the business investment manager here. I've been here for over 20 years. It'll be 21 years in December. My job is to help small businesses with business planning, information services, training like this, access to capital, and a few other things that I do as well. So we have money available for loans. So one thing we don't have here, or we don't have grants, we do just loans here. So much of my time is spent assisting business people and aspiring entrepreneurs to assist with to start a business or grow a business, in some cases to buy a business, that kind of thing. I spend a lot of time helping people to find appropriate financing or grants to help them along the way. So you can get help through our organization with your business without getting financing here. So you don't have to, so say you get your business plan, you're working with me to get your business plan complete, and then we start to look at the appropriate financing. And that doesn't always mean it's going to be here, but that's part of what I do, is to help you with that. In my spare time, I also have a home-based business. It's called Dreamweaver Ranch. It's a horse ranch where I give riding lessons, I do birthday parties, I've got a horse camp coming up, and other horse-related type events. I've been in operation since December of 2013, and I started my business actually with clients in the early 2014. And I just recently reopened. I was closed due to the COVID situation, the COVID pandemic, and so I just actually opened on the 15th, so last weekend. I will be using some examples from my business as we go through this webinar, just so we have something to talk about, and that's where we'll go. So enough about me. I'm going to share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about as I'm going through, and I'll be sending information out after the webinar. So you'll also notice, oh, it's one more person that's just joining us now, so I'll just let her in. In the chat box, you'll see that I've put the agenda in there. So we're going to start out. I've done an introduction. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about Rainy River Future Development Corporation. We're going to actually go through filling out an application for financing and what that's all about and how to apply. And I'll talk about some other government financing and how to find that. We have a couple of upcoming webinars that I'll talk about, and then we'll have questions at the end. So like I said, and for those that are just joining, please feel free to ask questions, drop it in the chat box, and I will check that periodically as we go along. So I'm going to share my screen first of all. So this is the seminar that we're in today, and I just talked about the agenda. Obviously you're already registered, so that's sort of where we start from. I'm going to go ahead and to play a short video here on the Community Futures program and what we do. So I'll just set that up now. Make sure that your volume is on.
Established by the federal government in 1985, Community Futures is a community-based economic renewal initiative, helping rural Canadians to start or expand a business and to help sustain and improve communities and their local economies. Each Community Futures office is staffed with a team of professionals that provide a wide array of business and community economic development services. These services strengthen and diversify local economies, offering financial assistance, business counseling and advice to individuals and small businesses, and entrepreneurship development and training. Typically, the services of Community Futures are targeted to entrepreneurs requiring customized financing that is not normally available from traditional sources. One of the keys to the success of Community Futures is that investment decisions are made by an independent board of directors, sensitive to the needs of their community. Directors are volunteers, generally from the business community, possessing an outstanding commitment to making their community a better place to live and work. Past surveys have indicated that the strength of Community Futures is in their volunteer boards. The knowledge of the local markets, the business environment, and the people are the basis in achieving such effectiveness and success. With 269 offices across Canada, Community Futures are well positioned to offer local solutions to local economies. As a leader in business development, innovation, and community development, together they are showing the world that Community Futures means business.
So that's going to give you just a little bit of information about the Community Futures program, what we do here. So moving on from there, we're going to go ahead and talk about how to apply for financing at Rainy River Future Development. So again, I'm going to share my screen with you. So this is the application for financing. If you're having trouble seeing it, just maybe let me know or give me a wave or something like that. Hopefully it's up on your screen. So this is the application for financing. What kind of financing do we have to offer? So we do what's called loans, loan guarantees, and equity investments up to a maximum of $150,000 within our organization. We also have loans, loan guarantees, and equity investments up to $500,000, so $150,000 to $500,000 through our affiliation with what's called the Northwestern Ontario Investment Pool. So what that is a group of other Community Futures, including us, that pool our money together to be able to offer those larger loans up to $500,000. At the moment, that is on hold due to COVID, because we've all been very taxed with COVID applications at the moment. And so we're actually working on getting that up and going again soon. But just in case anyone's thinking they might need to apply over that 150, at the moment that's on hold. But certainly, you know, if you're just starting to look at getting your applications in, you know, it's fine to start doing that, because I think it will be back up and going. It's just a matter of when. Our interest rates are prime +2. Prime right now is 2.45, so therefore the lending rate that we're at right now is 4.45, which is very low. Like as I mentioned earlier, I've been here for almost 21 years, and I don't think I've ever seen it that low. So it's a good time to borrow if you're planning on borrowing. We have a loan administration fee of $75, so that, or an application fee, I guess it's also called. So that's due with your application. All of our loans are life insured, so we put automatic life insurance on every loan, so that's just something you need to know. What is the process to apply for financing up to $150,000? So make an appointment to see me to discuss your business idea. So generally, people come to me with an idea. They don't necessarily already have a business plan complete. They may have started a business plan, they may have done some research, they may have done nothing. So often it just, I have this idea, or I want to buy this business, or I need to expand my business. So there's lots of different things that people come in with. And so the best thing to do is to start discussing it right at that idea stage. And then I'm going to walk you through a business plan, and I'm going to show you a business plan outline that we use in just a minute. But we walk you through a business plan and application form. And so I usually recommend give me a draft copy of that. So you send me a draft copy, especially if you've got it down on the computer, it's very easy to just send me it in an email, and I will review it for you. And I like to be able to give you some feedback. So that's when I will then give you your feedback, any comments and suggestions based on my experience. And again, this is whether or not you're applying with us or if you're just working on a business idea. So again, you don't have to apply here in order to get help with your business. So once I've given you some feedback and suggestions, then you'll go ahead and make those revisions and submit. Now, again, this is if you are submitting your application. So then submit the final application and business plan and any other requested information for final review. So I will give a list, and it's on the second page of this document, of all the things that you need to submit in order to apply here. And so we'll go through that in a minute. Once everything is deemed complete, we do a credit check on you. So if you have any credit issues, it's best to be upfront about that right away, so that we can help to advise you the right direction to go to help with that. We do a reference check. So we ask in our business plan for some references. It's just kind of like applying for a job. We do reference checks. And then we will do any other due diligence that we need to do. So what that might be is, making some phone calls, checking on prices, looking into, the insurance, any of those kind of things that we might need to do just to confirm. We even do things like appraisals, that kind of thing, just to see if the values in your plan are realistic. And then I make a recommendation to what's called our Business Investment Committee, and we call them the BIC for short. And they meet as required to review applications. So generally, they meet once a month, but if there is no application that month, they don't meet. So that's strictly is all they do is review applications, and they make recommendations. So I'm getting ahead of myself. So the BIC is made up of volunteer members of RFDC, and all information that is forwarded to them is completely confidential. So just so you know, if you send in financial information, if you send in your business plan, anything that is given to me or to our investment committee is held in strict confidence. And every member has signed a strict confidentiality agreement. So you don't have to worry about them being out in the community, talking about your business or you in any way. So that's all something that's very confidential. So the next stage is they will review the application and business plan that you've provided me, and I've of course forwarded to them. And they'll also look at my recommendations. So with the application, I send a recommendation whether to approve or not to approve, or in some cases, other things need to be done in order to get an approval. But generally, I make sure, or try to make sure, all the information is provided to them so that they can make a good decision. So if they approve it, they actually make a recommendation to approve, and then it goes to the board of directors. So the next stage here is, if approved at the BIC level, it will then go to our board of directors at their next regularly scheduled meeting. So our board of directors does meet once a month. So I'm very careful to try and schedule my BIC meetings the week before the board meeting, so that you're not having to wait, 4, 6, 8 weeks to get a final approval. So if the BIC approves, then it goes on to the board, and the board makes the final decision. If you are approved at the board level, You will then be asked to sign our offer to finance and satisfy any security requirements. So security is collateral. We need collateral on our loans so that, you know, if something should go bad on the loan, we have the ability to go ahead and take that collateral, sell it, and hopefully, you know, be able to pay off the loan. So do keep in mind that you need to have some collateral in your business or personal collateral. Security, I use those words interchangeably, security and collateral. You can use your personal, you can even use your boats, your four-wheelers, your ATVs, I guess it's the same thing. People have used their cabins. Our board doesn't tend to like to take your home as collateral. And I think that's because our board is made up of people from the Rainy River District, and none of them feel comfortable or want to put you out of your home if something should go bad with your business. So we tend to take more business related security. So the building that the business is in, the equipment, the inventory, anything with regard to the business. If there's not enough security in your business, then we would look at some personal assets as well. So there needs to be enough security to cover the amount of the loan. So that's where we are similar to a bank. We're not a bank, but we are similar to a bank. And I should note here that every application is looked at on a case-by-case basis, and the process may vary depending on the nature of the application. So a farm business is not going to be the same particularly as a retail business or as a manufacturing or a service business. So all businesses are different, and we look at them on a case by case. Even for example, two hair salons can have very different business plans. So what is the process to apply for financing from that 150 to 500,000? There's a slightly different process. And again, as I mentioned, this is something that's on hold right now, but I wanted to I wanted to give you the information as well, just so you had it going forward. So the process is the same, where it goes to our investment committee and then it goes to our board. But before that, there's actually what we call a third-party review. It's generally an accountant, and that accountant is from Northwestern Ontario. That accountant will review the application, the business plan, and they will make some suggestions and recommendation. And then those are added to mine and sent to the investment committee. So that is something that takes a little bit more time. So those loans over 150 generally take a little bit longer, up to a couple of months, I guess. I'm not sure. We haven't done one for a while, but it's usually a couple of months that it can take extra, just because that has to go to that third-party review. And it depends on the time of year. If accountants are really busy at that particular time, it's going to take longer. But just know that it takes like a little extra time. So we do suggest that the business plan be prepared with the assistance of a consultant or accountant for those that are over 150,000. Because one of the things we require is what's called a pro forma financial statement, and that has to be completed by an accountant. So just so you know, those larger loans need that specialty, that expertise to be able to apply. We do have a small loan program called the Business Planning Initiative to assist with covering those costs. And it's a $5,000 loan that you can get to help get the accountant to do your pro forma statements. That is a loan, and it does roll into your financing. So if you have $5,000 loan now and you're going for, say 200,000, make sure you apply for 205, because it'll roll into that new loan that happens down the road. So if anyone's looking at loans over 150, let me know. That way I can give you more information on the business planning initiative. Because I'm staring at my screen right now, I'm just going to go over here and check and see if anybody has posted a question yet. I have to stop sharing for some reason to see it today. Okay, I don't see anything in the chat. box. So, oh, sorry. Just have to get back in the same spot. Okay. So what is required in order to apply? This is what we call our business loan information required. So there is you have to do a business plan or business proposal. I do always like to everyone know if you're applying for some other financing, so say you're applying through the province or some other federal program, and you already have a business plan that you've done for them, you don't have to redo it on our business plan template. We will accept any business plan, but we do provide templates for those that need them in case, because not everyone, of course, knows how to do a business plan. So we need a copy of your business plan. The application needs to be filled out. That's the one we're looking at now, and I'll get into more of how to fill it out in a moment. In that application, it should include a list of the source of funds and how they will be used. So what kind of money you're looking for and how that money will be used. The $75 application fee should be either attached to your application, or we can also take an e-transfer for that. And we do require a minimum of 10% equity investment in order to apply. So that means that, you know, you have to look at the whole business financing requirements, and I'll show you an example of that on the next pages. But we do require 10% of your own money to be put in as part of the application. Now, I do like to make a note here and say if you have 5% or 8% or a little less than 10%, still apply. There have been cases where our investment committee and our board has approved them, even if they're not, but you should have something to contribute. Sometimes it's a matter of, I have this, you know, these pieces of equipment that are already paid for that I'm going to bring into my business. That is still equity. It doesn't have to be cash equity. It can be equity in the form of other assets that you're contributing to the business. So the next one on the list is a letter of decline from a financial institution. So FedNor is where our money comes from, which I'm sure you noticed in the video, and they require that we are looked at as someone that can come in as a lender in cases where people are unable to get financing from another financial institution. You know, the traditional lenders such as banks, credit unions, that kind of thing, the Business Development Bank of Canada. If you've applied there and you were turned down, then you can apply here. So FedNor does not want to be seen as being in competition with the banks or credit unions. We are here really for people that are unable to get financing elsewhere. And so, again, that doesn't mean we can't help you. It just means that we may be able to help you up to the portion where you apply for financing. And at that time, you may decide to go ahead and look for that at your bank, and that's fine. We still consider that, you know, an assistance with a business. So attached to your application, you should also have a copy of your resume and/or your job history and qualifications. So I know our investment committee does look at the resumes. They like to look and see, you know, what your history is, what your qualifications are, if you have certifications in certain things or experience in previous jobs that might become helpful in your business. That's important. If you happen to be an existing business, or if you're buying a business, we will require the last 3 years of financial statements. So meaning your year-end financial statements, which normally includes a balance sheet and an income statement. They do not need to be audited statements. They just need to be financial statements. They can be internally generated, but we do need to look at the financials for the past 3 years. For the bigger loans, there have been times where we've asked for the last 5 years if it's an existing business. Included in those financial statements should be a listing of any accounts receivable or accounts payable. So that gives us an idea of where things are at financially. and whether or not your business is solvent, meaning that your assets are greater than your liabilities. So by looking at your accounts receivable and accounts payable, that gives us that information. And also, if you're buying an existing business, we want to see the offer to purchase. Now, this doesn't necessarily need to come in at the time of application. Some people will make the offer once they've received approval, and that's okay to do that way. But if you have an offer to purchase already in place, say it's conditional upon receiving financing, please include that with your application so that we can review that as well. And the rest of these are dependent on the business. So for example, the landlord waiver, if you're renting or leasing a commercial property, please include, and we will give you a copy of a landlord waiver. What that will do is give us access to the property should the loan go bad and we need to go in and remove items to sell. That gives us landlord permission to be able to do that. If you have a lease with that landlord, which generally I recommend you have if you're renting or leasing, a copy of that lease agreement, so that we know where things stand as far as that goes. We did a loan one time to a business that was leasing a property in kind of like a mini mall. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give away who it was, but it wasn't in Fort Frances, but it was kind of like a retail area. And we found out after the loan was approved and dispersed that the lease was coming up for renewal in about 8 months. And that lease, the landlord had no intention of renewing the lease. And so this poor business person gets a loan, and 8 months later they were forced to close because they had no resident, they had no commercial place to do business. So obviously that business didn't make it. So now we require that we see a copy of that lease agreement. Is it going to expire in 3 months and you need to make sure it's getting renewed? Those are the kind of things that we help with. Now, if you should happen to have a business that you have more than one person, we generally ask for a copy of a partnership agreement. These can be done up on your own, but I do recommend you have a partnership agreement drawn up by a lawyer. And the reason for that is because then they will be able to give you some legal advice with it. Costs a little bit of money, but it's always a good idea in the long run. One of the things that's in there is a dispute resolution agreement. So if you and your partner, and sometimes it can even be husband and wife, or brother and sister, or family in any way, where you have a dispute and you don't see things the same way, and you need to find a way to resolve that. It gives you that in your partnership agreement. There's a process to go through to resolve a dispute. There's also an out clause so that you can get out of the partnership if you should happen to have a life change and you need to get out. There's a way to do that, and it's all set out beforehand, so there's no question if and when that happens. 9 out of 10 partnerships do not make it. I just want to give a little those are the statistics, and usually that's the reason, is because that they don't agree on the path that the business is going, and they end up splitting, or they end up just closing in some cases. A letter of intent. So say, for example, I'm a manufacturing business and I'm going to manufacture houses for a certain company. We would ask for a letter of intent from that buyer showing that they will buy those houses. So, you can call it what you want, a contract or a letter of intent. We would want to see that. And again, this is definitely going to depend on the business, whether or not you need that. Also, depending if you're buying a business or buying some property, we may need an appraisal done on that property just to see if it is in fact worth, what you think it's worth or what the paperwork is saying it's worth. So we have had people do appraisals. There's actually a whole separate form that you would fill out if you are buying a commercial property. So that's something to keep in mind. And there might be some other things that we require. For example, if you happen to be Indigenous and you're planning on running your business within a First Nation community, we may need a band council resolution. Those kind of things, just, you know, it always depends on the type of business that you're running. So that's why I leave an other spot there so that we can talk about your specific business. So the next part here is going to be an example of our application. So this is going to be how to fill it out. This I will be sending to you in afterwards so that you can have a look at it and use this sample as you're filling out your own application. So I'll send you a sample and then I'll send you a blank one to fill out for yourself. This is all something you can fill out online. I also have a paper copy that I can mail or email and you can print out and write on. Some people still do that and that's fine too. We try and accommodate whatever your preferences are. So this first page is more a statement of your personal. So notice this is personal information. This is not for the business just yet. This is your personal information so we can get an idea on, you know, what your assets are looking like, what kind of debt you have, and just to see if we don't want to set people up to fail. So, you know, the biggest thing here is we're just looking at it as an overview to see where you're at financially. So when we say full name, that's going to include your middle name if you have one, or some people have more than one. So full name, your social insurance number needs to be on there. I need that for a credit check. Somewhere in this document it'll say it's optional, but if you leave it out, I'm probably going to ask you for it anyway, so you might as well put it in there. That, again, anything that's given to me is completely confidential, so know that that doesn't leave my office. And the investment committee and board, they don't actually see these applications with those numbers on it. They go into your file and they're held until 7 years after your loan is paid out. So we have to do that for tax purposes, but we do keep it for that long and then it's discarded, or sorry, destroyed, I should say. Date of birth, I usually recommend write out the date of birth, because if you have, you know, if your birthday is January 2nd and you say 0102, so is that February 1st or is that January 2nd? So it's not always obvious. So please do write out the actual date of birth. Place of birth, that's important for insurance. So when we do the life insurance, they're going to ask me that. So that's why it's on the application. Your address, so this is your personal address. In this case, it just happens to be the same as my business address because I'm home-based. This information I'm giving to you because this is also available on my website. So it's not like this is private and confidential information. So, you know, your address needs to be filled out in full. If you have a different physical address than your mailing address, please put both of them on there. Postal code is important as well. And do you own or rent? So that's important for when we're doing up the loan documents. Home phone, business phone, cell phone. If you have all of them, put them all in. If you just have a cell phone, just put that in. I just put my home email address in here. Again, that's the same one I use for my business, so it's not confidential. You're more than welcome to share that with anyone that wants to go horseback riding. Previous address in the last 3 years. I've lived there for 10 years now, so I just leave that not applicable. Your status, single, in my case, I'm single. If you're married, you know, there may be, you know, be situations where we need some signatures from a spouse, that kind of thing. Again, we can talk about that if that's the case. Your current employer, if you have one. So I've put in mine. My position here is business investment manager. My salary, you guys don't need to know that, so I just put some dollar signs. But I would like to see yours for this so that we can, again, look at your personal financial situation. Number of years, I've been over 20 years here at this organization. The employer's address, again, fill that out in full with postal code. That's important because otherwise I'm going to come back and say, what's the postal code? The phone number here, again, that's the address, phone number. If I had any other income, which in my case I don't, I would put that there and what the source is. So then we go down to your, again, personal assets. So any real estate that you should happen to own. This is the physical address. Now the legal description I didn't put in there because I don't know it off the top of my head, but you can get that from the municipality if you need it, or it's on your tax forms or your property tax forms. The year purchased, price paid, so try and remember what you paid for that real estate, any mortgages outstanding, and then the current value. That may not be easily distinguished. I mean, you may not know that. And again, we're not asking for an appraisal on this particular. If you were approved and that was something you were using as security, then yes, we would get an appraisal. But that's why we just ask for an estimate. On the statement of net worth, this is basically us being able to look at your picture. So what do you have? What do you owe? And do you have any equity or net worth in your property? So in my case, I have real estate, I have money in my bank account, I do have some investments, I have an automobile. I just don't know what my equity in my business is, so I didn't put anything there at the moment. But if I had that, if I was applying for real, I would put some dollar signs, not dollar signs, you would put the actual value, obviously, in the equity in business. So then we're going to total these up and total them at the bottom. Over here, we look at how much do we owe. So assets are what we have and liabilities are what we owe. So any loans, any mortgages or credit cards that you may have and what the balance is on them. If you have a monthly payment, so say you have a small personal loan for whatever, you bought a boat, what the monthly payment might be on there, your mortgage payment, what that is each month and how much is outstanding, and of course any credit cards and how much you normally pay each month on that. So then total up your liabilities, and there are spaces here for any other liabilities that you may have, so you can add those in. Total those up for total liabilities, and then we take our assets over here, and then we subtract our liabilities, and that's how we come up with our net worth. So this really gives me an idea, you know, do you have 25 credit cards? That may not be, you know, a great thing to do. Do you have, you know, lots of real estate or something that you could even sell in order to buy the business? You know, we could look at that as well. Again, we wouldn't force you to do that, but it might be an option for you to self-finance and those kind of things. So then we look at your net worth and we just give you know, again, we're not basing our decision solely on this, as far as we're looking at everything as a whole, including this. So then we want to see, okay, what are your banks or credit unions that you deal with? And I just listed all of the banks and credit unions in the Rainy River District, just so you can get an idea what we're looking for there. You're going to read through this disclosure and release statement. I'm not going to take time to do that now, but if and when you do apply, please feel free to read all of this so that you understand. You know, yes, we're going to do a credit check. It says I need not provide my social insurance number, but I will ask for it, just so you know. It's the easiest way to check your credit. It talks about our privacy statement, that sort of thing, and then it has a few more questions. So here it says I am currently in the subject of litigation. So if you are in a lawsuit or something like that, then you would click yes and you would describe it. In this case, we're clicking no. Have you ever had or you made assignment to petition into bankruptcy? We need to know that. If yes, please, you know, provide those details. There's a pretty good chance that if you're in the middle of bankruptcy, we're not going to give you a loan. I'll just tell you that right up front. Not going to lie, you're probably going to get turned down. If you've had a bankruptcy in your past, we will still look at it. It's going to depend how long ago it was. It's going to depend on, you know, what you tell me the circumstances were. I've had clients that had, you know, I was in college, I got a credit card, you know, it went bad, da da da, and there, you know, it was 25 years ago. We'll still look at that, but we won't look at one if you're in the middle of a bankruptcy situation. That's just not a good idea for our organization. And that you are a Canadian citizen or landed immigrant. And so you're going to date this at whatever location you happen to be. If you're in Rainy River, you're going to put Rainy River. If you're in Emo, you're Emo, et cetera, today's date. And so there is a way to sign this online. So if you don't have the ability to print this out and sign it, and then scan it and send it in, I can send it to you in a document to sign online. It's the same ones that the realtor friends of mine use to sign documents as well. So, and that will give you a witness as well. But if you do print it out, sign it and have a witness sign that they've verified your signature. Next page is the application, and then again, I'm getting a little long-winded, but the application, again, full name, business name, your address, all this is the same as the previous page, but a little bit more details on the business side of things. So we're applying to Rainy River Futures. We're looking for $150,000. This is where we list the estimated costs, the expected financing. So I just made these up. I want to buy or build a building for $75,000. I need to renovate some land or do some work on the land, renovations, leaseholds, any of those kind of things for $25,000. If I have some equipment I want to buy or working. So these categories may change for your specific organization, but what we want to do is total it up. And so in this case, that 170, that's what you have to have, that 170 170. So you need to have a minimum of $17,000. I guess I could have figured that out in my head. $17,000 as 10% of your own money to put into the business. So in this case, I've just rounded it up to 20. So I will need to contribute 20,000, and I'm looking for a loan for 150. These two totals at the bottom here must match, just so you know. If you don't have enough money to cover the costs, then we have to figure that out. We have to figure out what other financing or grants or anything like that may be available to you. The rest of this you can pull out of your information when the applicant's business was established, so your actual start date. In my case, I'm a proprietor. This number is a made-up business number. It's probably somebody's, but it's not mine. I don't have an HST number, and HST we can talk about. That's a whole nother class that I take on the steps to starting a business. And so you would put your HST number in there if you have one. Again, the officers and shareholders of the business. So this is me, I'm the only one. If there were more than one, you would list them all. Has a partnership agreement been executed? So if it has, then you're going to attach it. The number of jobs you're looking at. So if there's new jobs or jobs maintained as a result of the loan, then you're going to list that there. Again, your bank account information is asked for. So now, again, this is business, so it might be different than your personal. It has some questions. Has there been any material adverse change in the financial position or operation of the business? In my case, I put not applicable. Also, no litigation with regard to the business. So you'll read through all of these, legal document part, and then you'll go ahead and you'll date it for whatever community you're in when you're signing on this date, and then you'll put in the name of the witness, your name. Again, if you have to print it out and sign it and scan it, that's fine, then you'll get a witness, or if you don't have that ability, I can send it to you in our program for online signing. So that is it for the application for financing. So I'm gonna go back to, I see there's a couple of chats. Okay, so I have a question here. Does that mean you or FedNor would be on the title as the first in line on title? So as far as security, yes. We take security on our loans, meaning that if you're using a piece of property as security, then yes, we would be listed on title. As an owner's accommodation, take into account. I'm not sure if I understand, is an owner's accommodation taken into account and can first mortgage be registered against the land entire? Is that part of that first question, Kathy? You can just unmute yourself if you want to help me out with how you're asking that question.
Yes, what I'm wondering is if there is a first mortgage going to be registered on the land and buildings, and there's going to be an owner's residence there. There's quite a few businesses where the residence is part of the building that the business is in. So they might have a first mortgage on that property.
Okay.
Then how would your mortgage be registered? On the property, would you then be a second?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. And that would be fine then.
We have taken seconds depending on the situation. And that's normally it's not a problem as long as there's some equity in it. If they just bought it last week, there's not likely a whole lot of equity because so then it wouldn't make sense. And again, I mentioned earlier, we don't like to put people out on the street. So if there's other security we can take, we would probably prefer to do that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Good question though. Thank you. So the next part, where'd my chat go? Here we go. So I was going to talk a little, that was the application for financing. And then also any other government financing. I'm going to touch on that next. Let me just pull that up on my screen. The best place that I have found to look for financing is through this Government of Canada website. It's innovation.canada.ca. I'm going to stick that in the chat box for you. So innovation.canada.ca, this gives you an opportunity to search for financing, funding, grants, loans, even COVID related things directly from the Government of Canada website. I find that they keep it fairly up to date. So this is what it looks like when you get there. You're going to click in English. And what it is it's going to help you find support for your business. So that can be either COVID support or other programs and financing. I'm going to take you through a quick little example of this and try and keep my within my hour. And again, if anyone has to leave, feel free. I understand this is maybe you're on your lunch break. And I will send you this recording so you can watch the other, if we do run over, you can watch it at your leisure. So for example, it says, tell us your story. So I am looking for all government support. So we're going to pick that as far as a choice. For support during COVID-19, I need. So if you need some emergency loans or grants, you can look for those here. You need to help your employees. I actually think I'm going to go with just the other because we're not really talking about COVID today. We're talking about some of the other government program supports. We've talked about COVID on other occasions, and if anyone needs COVID information, let me know. And I can send you the video that I did on specific COVID supports. But so specifically, you are looking for funding, loans and capital investments, perhaps some wage subsidies. And I'll just pick those ones to go through this example. And I've already secured 0%, so we're going to keep that at 0. I'm looking for at least, say, 0 to, well, we'll just leave it at unlimited. We want to try and see what everything is that's available out there. Our main goal is so you may either start a business, perhaps you're buying or leasing equipment or property, or growing your business. We'll pick those 3 as an example. Then it says, got it. Now tell us about your company. So we are in Ontario. We're specifically in the northern region, and your business is, let's just pick accommodation and food services, just as an example. This is a Canadian owned. If you happen to be Indigenous, we are all northern or rural residents. I'll pick women because that's me. If you have any of these others, then please feel free to click those as well. We have, so let's say we have 5 employees and we are not incorporated, but we are for profit. So there, it says done. Let's see our results. And it's going to pull all of the results based on the information that we've provided. You can still go in and change any of these at any time. So maybe you go, oh, wait a minute. I actually, I am incorporated. You can change that and save it, and it will research it again. So the first thing it's giving us is some funding. So the first thing is usually the loans and grants. Seed funding to promote gender equality in Indigenous communities. That one doesn't really apply to me in my particular case. The next one is funding to develop export markets. I'm not looking at export development markets at the moment. So again, we're going to look and see which one of these actually might apply. So you just read the headlines and they're pretty easy to figure out. I know there's going to be some here on, so here would be one that I would be eligible for. So if I wanted to hire a youth intern, and I'm in the private sector, they can help to share the cost of hiring graduates to come and work in your business. There's also, I'm just going to find another one. Starter Company Plus would be another one that I would be eligible for. This is money-based, money and advice for Ontario small businesses specifically. And so anytime you find one of these, I'm going to actually click into this one for Northern Startups. The Northern Ontario Heritage Fund is this one here. You can click into them and it's going to give you details on each one of these programs. So they will go up to $200,000 at 50% of costs in a new business in a priority sector in Northern Ontario. So then it talks about, there is a portion that's non-repayable in this particular organization, and they will cover 50% of eligible costs, and you can combine this with other government programs. So once I go, hey, this sounds interesting, then I go click get the details, and it's going to pop me over to their website, and it tells me who is eligible, what is eligible, what is not eligible, some of the guidelines and how to apply. And then there's actually an apply button right on there. So as you can see, that can be very helpful for you and your business because you might want to apply for that one. So now I'm back here. I can still continue on. I can click this up, and I can also look at up. Well, it doesn't want to go up. I'll just go to the next section. So then here's where you're looking at loans and capital investments. So Community Future Network of Canada, that's us. So we're going to be listed in there as someone that you can access capital through. There's the future, well, Community Futures Network of Canada, Community Futures Ontario are the same thing. You're going to end up back on our doorstep. So again, once you get, look at some of these and see what you might be eligible for, what sounds interesting to you, click into any one of them and you'll get information from each one of these different organizations. So I usually recommend start here. I do find that they keep it, like I said, fairly up to date. And so, when you're looking for financing, it's a good place to start. I can also give you some referrals and names of people in some of these organizations to talk to. And so I'm happy to provide that information for you as well. And okay, so that covers our fourth number on the agenda. So that's the other government financing. Upcoming webinars, I have one upcoming webinar at the moment, and that is on Wednesday, August 26th, which is a week from today. It's also at noon. It's a Zoom webinar, same as this, on steps to starting a business. So what you need to do, what you need to provide in order to start a business, and where you go from there. So business planning, that sort of thing will be included in there as well. I just wanted to go one more thing and show you. I have to find it. Hang on one second. Oh, there it is. Okay. So we're going to show you, I'm going to show you the business plan template. So this is quickly what our business plan template looks like. When I send it to you, it will be in a Word format, and it's something you can fill in. So basically, here's where you would put your name. Whoops. You would just fill it in. Oh, shoot. There. You would fill it in where it says insert business name. You would put your name, the date. And then as you go along, you'll see here it's boxes that you fill in. It is a Word document, so you can manipulate it however you like. If you start typing and you've got more than one line, it will give you more lines. So that's the nice thing about this particular template, is that you can make it your own. And again, I'm not going to go over the whole business plan right at the moment, but just know that this is something that I will send to you in an email after this, so that you have it. If you choose to work on our business plan outline, you can fill it in, and it's very easy to just save onto your computer. With that, I'm also going to give you a copy of the business cash flow forecast. So hopefully that's popped up on your screen. This is probably what I do the majority of my coaching, business helping with, is the cash flow. I think a lot of people understand the verbal and the written part of it, and then they get stuck on how to do the cash flow forecast. So I'm happy to help. This is an example, and you'll get this afterwards in your email. So it does sort of give you some examples in there. It also has formulas so that it will pull information as well. So anywhere that it's highlighted or bold, it's actually pulling that information from your previous page. And again, the same thing will happen on the years 2 and 3. So what we ask for is a detailed list of your startup costs. That's what this page is. Then we also look for a detail of your cash flow for the first year. This is monthly for the first year. And then for years 2 and 3, we just ask for the yearly. So, these are things that you can fill in. So that will come as well in the email that I'll be sending you after this. And then the last thing I have on my agenda is time for some questions. So realizing it is 1, but if anyone has to go, feel free. And if anyone has questions, go ahead and unmute your mic, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Or if you prefer, you can also put it in the chat box.
Hi, Ange.
Hi, Lisa.
You mentioned the BIC, which is your pre-approval before. Who does that comprise of? Is that your board members, or is that just general people like in the finance
Both.
area?
It's both. So it's half board members, and the other half is members of Rainy River Future Development, which are often business people or people with an interest in finance and economic development.
Okay, good to know.
Mm-hmm. There is a list of them on our website if anyone needs to know who they are. Our board members and our investment committee is listed there. I don't recommend you approach them because they really can't help you. You're better off to come through me. So yeah. Good. Any other questions? Oh, I can see you're talking, Lisa, but you're on mute.
I just decided to remove the cow.
Oh, yes, you had a cow on your picture. Much better. Excellent. Kathy, did you have a question?
I've got actually a whole bunch of them, but
okay.
I because I'm dealing with people buying businesses and more than startups. And so I want to thank you very much. That was a really interesting seminar.
Okay.
And I'll be in touch to kind of get a few more specifics on
Okay.
things that'll bore the rest of the people, I'm sure.
Okay, no, that's no problem. I'm happy to, yeah. And anyone else that wants to just call me, or we can set up a Zoom meeting as well, just to talk about, you know, what some of the options might be for you specifically. I'm happy to do that. Absolutely. Yeah, just let me know. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you so much.
No problem. Okay, one more chance if anyone has any questions. And if I don't see anybody unmute their mic, then, oh, looks like Brent has a question, but I think you're still muted.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, there you go. Now I hear you.
Yeah. I'm sorry I'm late. I was late.
Okay.
I tried to log in on my thing. Apparently I didn't apply for my ticket.
No.
So
Oh.
that's why I couldn't. I had a ticket, or I thought I did, but it wouldn't work. So
Oh shoot. Okay. Well, you're here now, so hopefully you caught
yeah,
something this summer.
I was here for most of it actually.
Excellent.
Good thing Judy was logged in too.
He was logged in a couple times, so it's all good. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I see there's lots of methods to get the funding. So
Yeah.
that's kind of interesting. So are you going to be sending out any paperwork?
Yes, I'm going to send out the application as well as the example that I was using. I'm going to send out the business plan and cash flow templates. I will send out the links to the places that I've mentioned in the webinar. And then there will be also an evaluation that I'll ask that you guys fill out, just so that we get an idea if there's other things that you need help with, and we can certainly look at doing future webinars as well. I'm thinking about doing one on business planning if I can get a few people that want to help, you know, do a business plan, but so much of that is individual, so I do a lot of that one-on-one. But if you're thinking about business planning and need some help with that, by all means, I'm happy to help with that as well.
So would we just do a one-on-one Zoom for that?
Yep, you bet. Sure.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'd be interested in that.
Yeah, what we can do is you know, send me a quick email. We'll set up a time, and then we can Zoom individually, and we can walk through a business plan, or we can chat more in depth about what you're working on. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
You bet. No problem. All right. So I see Selena's still on. Selena, do you have any questions? Oh, I'm not hearing. Looks like you tried to unmute your mic, but now it's muted again. So, you know what, Selena, if you do happen to have any questions, please feel free to give me a call at the office, and we can do the same. We can set up a Zoom meeting or a chance to talk on the phone as well, and go over what your business idea is and where you're going from here. So with that, I'm going to wrap up and say thank you everyone for attending, and I'm sure we'll be in touch very soon. Okay, thank you. Bye now.